So little you can do because it's just you. I guess you got to become the next AOC. Those are the two options. You're either a bad person or you're AOC, according to Twitter.
Twitter. That's where I get all of my moral advice.
I could not run for public office. I don't think people are ready. Like, people were barely ready for a waiter, a server who also ran for public. Do you think they're ready for a stripper turned politician? I don't know.
There was one running
comedian.
for something.
Yeah, /comedian, irresponsible person.
There was a stripper running for something. I don't know if she won, but I remember seeing like an interview with her. And she was very much like I just stripped to pay my way through college. And I'm like, God, okay, honey.
No,
that's what we all did.
Wrong type
we
of stripper.
all wanted to pay our way through college.
That's
what you tell them. Don't tell me that. Don't lie to me.
Don't talk to me like I am a patron.
Don't talk to me. Don't fucking talk to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's introduce the pod, and then we can get into more of this awesome topic, fad diets.
Well, also, we're talking about vegetarianism, and I think that's where really...
Yes. No, it's definitely still, like, we're in it. We're here.
in it, dude. In it.
We're in the
this
mode.
movement to do. Like it's
like Moses parting the seas.
It's a cuckoo clock for your head.
I'm mind-opening.
Oh, is that what it is? I imagine a little bird coming out. I mean,
don't be an idiot.
Wow, we all saw very different things in that nonsense gesture. I feel like it's like a Rorschach test.
Thank you. I'm kind of like a manic pixie dream girl. Like, I'm here just doing things like so uniquely.
Yeah.
To remind you that you're going to die. And
I don't think I am, actually.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Not if you
I'm
eat
definitely
right.
going to die.
Amber's going to die. I don't have to, though. That's the deal
No,
that I made with God.
I die for you guys. That's,
Aw,
I'm like the Jesus for them.
Okay, but like straight up,
though. I die for your
though.
death, not the die for your sins, because...
I mean,
So
you'd
I still have
more
to be
than
in
just
charge
you.
of my own sins. I don't think I like that, actually. No
Sorry.
deal. Oh,
No deal.
no deal. Yeah.
Well, go with the Jesus guy then. I don't know.
I guess. I mean, no, I'm Jewish. I can't do that. That's too much of an L that I would be taking.
That's rude.
Maybe I just don't
Welcome
believe in sins. Sorry.
to Low Culture Boil, the trash podcast about trash culture, hosted by three trashy babes. I'm your host, Rax King.
And I'm your other host, Courtney Rawlings.
A.K.A.
Galdebord. I'm your third host, Amber Rollo. Just Amber. And we are continuing talking about fad diets. And we got into like what they are generally in the last one because the topic is so huge. And now we're going to talk a little bit about fad diets that have come about. Before, I know you guys wanted to jump into the 20th century, but before we do, I kind of wanted to talk about the 19th century just shortly.
Yeah.
I like that Courtney did a TikTok dance. I don't know why.
19th century.
I forgot. Are we filming my face?
Yeah, we are.
I love how I'm like literally trying to hide from the mic that I'm eating, but you can see it if you're watching.
No, you can see it. It's fine. We all are living lives, okay? We're not making enough off of this that we can just like take time away from eating.
Give us more money, please.
But so Rax put together this excellent outline, and
thank you.
She wrote in that in the 19th century in France, this guy named Jean Berlat Savarin, he was of the foremost food writer of his time, which I think that's very funny that there were food writers at that time.
He was kind of like the first French food writer. I mean, at least of the era. Like, it wasn't really so much a thing to sit down and write philosophically about food. There were cookbooks and shit like that, but it wasn't really... Oh, my God. Fucking mouse is in the chat. What happened?
I don't know. It was cute, though.
I loved that.
So he established this idea that you needed to eat a low-carb diet, which is still a very popular idea, but also that you need to chew every bit of food a lot. Like
a lot.
Hundreds of
Too
times.
many times.
Too many times.
And that is like continued, let's like passed on to the US, and it has continued to be popular, and it has this name that I hate called Fletcherizing. It almost sounds like an onomatopoeia. It's like, it's just as gross of a sounding word as the sound of mastication. Like, I don't, blah. Like, you know, when someone like turns their mic up too much and you can hear, you know, no. Thank you.
Wait, so you guys don't want me to do that this episode?
I would love for you to do that this episode.
I will turn it down in mixing. I will take it out. No, absolutely not.
Your opening song.
Ew.
Oh. God.
I think I have to leave that in, unfortunately.
ASMR. ASMR.
Actually, I dated a guy who really liked the sound of me eating and would like have me record it and play it for him. That's a thing.
You have had too many experiences.
I'm so sorry. Also,
you're one of these people that experienced it all.
At the
What's
ashram,
next?
that's what I think life is for. But at the ashram in Virginia, in Yogaville.
That never stops being funny, Yogaville. That's never going to not be funny to me. Fucking Yogaville.
We had to, because it sounds really like, it sounds like I'm in India when I say the ashram. But no,
yeah, and then you say Yogaville.
Virginia, Yogaville. We couldn't talk when we were eating lunch, and we were listening to like recordings of our guru. And we also were supposed to chew each bite of food 100 times.
Did you weigh
too
1
many
pound?
times?
100? I can't even count. I cannot keep my fucking knowledge bank focused that long.
No.
I did not do that. I was like, I'm going to chew it until it's like, you know, chewed. And then I will, I'll mindfully eat. And I hate that word now, mindfulness, because it's got a whole different thing to it. But I will like think about what I'm eating, because I think there's some benefit to that. And like,
sure.
And get like actually taste the food in my mouth rather than just like swallowing it down just in quickness to get to the next thing.
You're basically French.
I'm allowed to do that, and that's awesome. And I'm gonna taste it, and I'll put my spoon down in between bites. But I'm not gonna chew it 100 times. What am I, freaking brushing my hair? No.
I believe with Fletcherizing, it was supposed to be 118 times.
Wow, that's a good number. So I get that.
Oh, okay. Why is it a good number?
Numerologist over here.
Just vibes.
Vibes?
I like
it's got an 8 in there. I don't know. It's kind of nice.
118. I'd be like, I'm sorry. Did I just win the lottery with my chewing numbers?
I gotta say, I don't like that number at all.
I don't like it either. I like threes. I like the numbers got a 3.
I like 3s and 5s, and that has neither of those. And
to me, 23 is the best number. I like to look at a 23.
I totally agree. 23 is a great number. 39 is maybe my favorite number, but that's because of a family thing.
Guys, I think I am the kind of like the alternative spice in this package. I'm more of a 2s and 4s.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
I love
even
4s.
It's funny that you're the odd one out, but you're the one who likes even numbers.
Yeah.
Well, technically, you both are the odd one out because this is my story. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Just kidding.
That's right.
I am also the main character.
I've never, ever in my life thought that I was the main character ever. Even in my imagination as a kid, I was like, wow, it's going to be so good to be Harry Potter's girlfriend in this movie. And
I have always thought I was the main character. And I really I need to figure this out because orphans are so prominently featured in stories, and then I became an orphan. I think something's ingrained in me that I was like, well, yeah, this story is about me, but really orphans are the main character in a lot of movies, for instance, because it's cheaper to have an orphan, easier to tell the story. You don't need to feature their parents at all, and it's like a very
more malleable,
quick and easy cornerstone.
Yeah. Anything could happen to this mofo. They're an orphan. I mean,
having a parent die is real main character behavior. I remember feeling that way when my dad died. I was just like, I am so the protagonist of this situation right now.
Exactly. Yeah. So just wait, Courtney. It'll happen. You'll be.
Oh God! Fucking Christ!
What
are you giving my parents arsenic pills? Because I am not ready.
Oh my God. So that's the other one that I wanted to say. There was the most dangerous diet pill in this time, and it was arsenic pills. And
it was just fucking arsenic. Because if you're dead, you can't.
You are fat. So thin, honestly, as a daddy.
Yeah, skeletons are very thin unless you have big bones. Then
you're still pretty skinny.
Cannot believe the joke that just came out of that Zoom quadrant over there. I'm not going to pay attention to that.
You loved
Fletcherizing's disgusting. Arsenic pills don't work. Also, when you start marketing something as a diet pill, I think this is probably like the first time people realize this. People don't take it as directed. People say, oh, 1 arsenic pill makes me lose a pound. 10 arsenic pills must be 10 times as effective. So folks are just like dropping off of arsenic poisoning like flies. Really a bad scene.
All for the thinspo.
Yeah.
All for the thinspiration. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend any diet pill in general. We'll get more to those in the future. Things just rarely turn out great when you're taking a pill for fooding.
maybe
Food does that
should
job.
be associated with food.
Yes.
Not a pill that you swallow generally.
You know, there's all these sci-fi properties where, like, one of the world-building things is, like, you don't eat food anymore. You take a pill and it's nutrition. And that turns me off so much. Like, let me keep my food. I like food.
Yeah, I don't want Soylent. I don't want a pill version of food. That is for the person who's like addicted to work. It's like, no, I want the opposite. I want like the hell world that in our future to eventually lead to me eating a 3-hour lunch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm looking for the opposite of what people want.
It's funny the whole idea of foodies now, or like a gourmand, someone who eats food for pleasure. Yes, that's the only reason why I want to eat food is for pleasure. The idea that someone's out there eating food just to survive, like Soylent, is wild to me.
Have y'all tried Soylent? It's disgusting.
It's disgusting.
It's
I
so
don't
nasty.
I want nothing to do with
I
that.
have not tried it. I will not try it. I have no reason to try it.
It tastes like if you melt chalk and add vanilla extract.
Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds kind of good to me, so I will try it now. I'm sorry. Okay, my mom
Amber loves to eat chalk.
Go take your Adderall.
My mom ate a lot of raw potatoes when she was pregnant with me, I guess.
Whoa.
She like had this
whoa,
craving
whoa.
for raw potatoes, so she ate them, and you know that tastes kind of chalky, and now I've always kind of liked that taste.
I kind of like raw potato taste. I wouldn't eat a whole raw potato, but I'll have a little bite of a potato.
Yeah.
All right. Well, once again, normal Courtney is taking the lead, and we're moving right through this one.
Let's talk about, okay, so I thought Sylvester Graham was in the 20th century, but he's actually still in the 19th century, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Invented the graham cracker and also did a whole bunch of other weird shit. But
Lots of
I
weird
feel
shit.
like, the graham cracker's a pretty big dub. I'll give him that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, my God. Are you kidding?
I live for a graham cracker.
lot
I
of
want
I
one
would
so
have
bad all of a
s'mores
sudden.
without him. I grew up on s'mores. Camping?
Yeah.
Camping would be nothing without a s'more.
Yeah. What, I'm just going to put it on a Ritz? Put a roasted marshmallow on a Ritz cracker? That sounds kind of good,
That's-
actually.
Yeah.
Blasphemy, actually.
I know, but
no.
it does sound kind of good.
My dad used to make us snacks. He would put Ritz cracker and then butter and then peanut butter and then honey on a Ritz cracker.
Oh my fucking
and
God.
delicious.
That
I've,
sounds
like,
incredible.
Reintroduced Ritz crackers into my diet to dip with my Nutella, and then I looked at the calorie counts. Another thing we'll be getting to in the future.
Ritz crackers.
Don't do it. Don't look at the calories.
They're
Just
butter.
enjoy it. And
It's a butter
definitely,
cracker.
maybe though, don't add the butter. They're pretty.
Or add the butter.
Yeah.
You only live once.
Live your
My
truth,
dad died of a
okay?
heart attack, so I'm just
Oh,
saying.
yeah.
I'm sorry, but
There's
you know, he had a
well,
way of
personally, I love graham crackers because when I'm feeling horny, and I know that's a sin, I go and I go take a dip in the graham cracker jungle instead, and that's where I go, and that's what Sylvester Graham wanted for all of us.
He wanted, instead of jerking off, he wanted you to eat a nice graham cracker. And was that so wrong?
he didn't believe that women should jerk off, but he did believe that he should masturbate women for them for medical purposes, which is very funny to me because like doing it yourself is the whole point.
He was very popular with women, actually. I think probably because he knew what a clit was.
Yeah,
But
he
I
was
think
fingering
mostly
them.
because one of the things that his church, he was like a preacher type, and his church was anti-corset because corsets were like a sinful vanity. And so women at the time were like, fuck yeah, I don't want to wear a corset. Like, let me follow the graham cracker guy. Also, graham crackers are delicious, and he jerks me off.
Boom. Boom.
Welcome to
That's
fucking
everything
heaven.
I want from a doctor / preacher.
Graham and Kellogg had like a lot going on at this time. Right now we're like in the 1830s to 1880s ish. You know, both of them are like super into Christianity, but they're into the version now, like Seventh Day Adventist is what you would call it, where you're like, we eat raw veggies and we are good people. But at the time it was also, and sex is gross, and especially if you're alone. Double, you know, with a friend, that's different if you're married. But alone, that's a no. So 2 foods that would become pseudo diet foods insofar as they replaced a desire that was sinful are the graham cracker, which, yes, that's an alternative to jerking off. In case you didn't know, that's fact. But also John Kellogg invented Kellogg cereal as similarly for its
anti-jerk-off properties.
Anti-jerk-off properties. There's where the flurp did I put it? An aphrodisiac. You just put the word aphrodisiac. No, it's A-N and then aphrodisiac. So it sounds like you're saying
an aphrodisiac.
It means opposite of aphrodisiac.
Which sounds like you're saying an aphrodisiac.
Yeah, I had to Google
Wow,
it.
Latin sucks ass. That's so confusing.
That's wrong.
So both these vegetarians were like, obviously killing animals is bad.
Excuse me. Just don't label them as vegetarians in general.
That's how they labeled themselves, man.
They were vegetarians. You got to take that one.
But
that is what those guys
crazy
were.
into
They were
inventions.
also men. They were also like cult leaders. They were also, you know,
Wow, so you're going to call the church a cult? That seems healthy for our audiences. Just kidding.
Yeah.
is a cult.
You're going to make them all be
It's a
Jews like me. Do you want
cult.
that?
Yes, I do want that. Everyone should
Go back to Yoga Town.
Oh, Amber wants you else to be Jewish. Oh, shit. Abdicate your church loyalties because Amber said so.
do it.
It would be a better
No,
world.
they were vegetarians, but that wasn't the whole thing. They were also definitely very much cult leaders.
No
And
alcohol,
I think
no
also
tobacco, lots of water.
Post cereal was in the mix too.
Wow, this was
with
all
like the same thing.
hangout gang. That's fun.
Yeah. So grape nuts are also like, if you ever feel this powerful urge to jerk off, you could eat grape nuts instead, or graham crackers, or cornflakes.
I was remembering, like, looking at the Kellogg stuff. I was like, oh my God, I don't remember exactly what year. Maybe it was like 2007, a little after like Hydroxycut or whatever. There was the commercials that said if you had Special K cereal, if you replaced your meals with Special K cereal, you were going to like lose weight. That was like that was like on commercials, and I remember like trying it and being like, "Well, this is just disgusting 3 times a day. I'm also starving."
Yeah,
and if you look at like the fine print, it's like also like a serving is like 5 little bits of flaked corn.
When I was a kid, I like I ate cereal a lot, and like it wasn't. My family was by no means struggling, but my parents weren't around. They were just always gone. They were working. They had social lives. They were just gone a lot. I was very much a latchkey kid. And so me and my sisters were like hungry a lot. But
because you can't cook for yourself as a child.
We tried, but like, you know, we couldn't really. We fucked up things a lot, and we ate a lot of cereal. And it's not good 3 times a day.
No, it stops being enjoyable after 2.
Especially if your
and the
sister
second time is already borderline.
Especially if someone else already ate all the marshmallows out of the Lucky Charms, you know?
This is why I think siblings should be illegal. No siblings anymore. They're always ruining cereal for you.
Well, you want to be the sibling who does the ruining, I think.
Yes, like exactly. You want to get ahead of it. You get there first.
You eat all the Reese's Puffs. I don't have any siblings.
Yeah. Cereal's big. Did you know, like, I also ate a lot of cereal as a kid. I still do. I go through phases still to this day. Like, I had Honey Nut Cheerios or Be Fast, but with strawberries, so like it cancels out the carbs.
Yeah, basically a health food.
Yeah, I had a health food.
You added pictures sugar
of
to your
rice. It's not sugar, it's fructose, okay?
Okay, which is a type of
If
sugar.
it's in strawberries,
I'm so
it's
sorry.
allowed. I can only take so much.
This
That used to drive me nuts about Whole30, which we will talk
Yes.
about. The bitch behind Whole30 is like, you can eat fruit, you can't have too much. And there's all these other incredibly restrictive rules. And I was just like, enough is enough.
Enough
Let
is
me have my
enough.
fruit.
Let me have my graham cracker at the very least.
Yeah. I was like a 6-year-old. Like, give me a fucking graham cracker. Give me some fucking fruit.
I just can't keep on hearing about graham crackers and masturbation without thinking of like that challenge that dudes do.
Wait, first of all,
No
you
Nut
lost
November?
me literally forever ago. What?
Okay.
Do you mean No Nut November?
No. I mean the challenge
God.
where they put a cracker in the middle of a circle and
No.
What are you talking about?
I'm on board now, and I don't want to talk about that. Oh, I hate that so much. Oh, okay. Well, now
sorry.
you have to.
it's in my head. It had to
Oh,
come out
mine
of my
too
mouth.
now.
I don't know what you
okay,
guys are talking
so-
about because I like 2s and 4s.
So,
so pure.
some teenagers might
No,
have,
you're going to tell us what it is?
this might have been a thing that's made up, like the ball koozie, or it might be a thing.
No,
that
it's
really
real.
exists.
This is
This is
I
a real
have
thing?
firsthand
Okay.
proof that this is
Okay.
real.
Well,
No.
they stand a bunch of dudes stand in a circle. They put a
You
cracker
can only
in the
call
middle.
them dudes when they're doing this.
Yeah.
You can't call them men when they're doing this kind of behavior.
They-
They become dudes.
Yeah, they have a circle jerk basically. They jerk off together, and then whoever comes last has to eat the cracker.
No, Courtney's gonna throw up.
I said that to her with a spoonful of food in her mouth. So
A food that kind of looks like it might have cum in it, like
yeah,
it's a
it
little
does
bit mashed up
bit.
and shit.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
hate me? That was the most disgusting thing I've ever heard in my fucking life.
Have you not heard of that? It's
No,
so horrible.
because I live in purity. My puppy
Aw,
loves broccoli.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
I'm sorry to have ruined your purity.
This is not the first. Like last episode with Rax, I was like eating, some salad, and then Kitchen Nightmares came on with like cockroaches falling out of the sky.
Yep.
So
Every time I lead an episode, Courtney has to like come very close to tossing her cookies.
I gotta say, I will not be eating during this episode anymore.
I
I'm
love
cured.
that. I love that term, tossing your cookies.
I like it too. Yeah.
Sounds
Another
very
thing I've
weirdly
heard.
sexual, honestly. Okay,
Interesting.
let's talk about the 20th century.
20th century is when shit gets wild.
Really
I feel like
crazy.
before then, fad diets were like, they just had to be contained. You couldn't communicate to that many people at the same time,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Sure,
that has to have been part of
Some
it.
people had arsenic pills, but for the most part, people were just
Or
like,
tapeworms.
"Oh,
Oh my
boy,
God, no,
that
that's at
one
the
was
beginning
really
of the
gross."
20th century. Yeah, at
Yeah,
the beginning of the 20th
okay.
century, the first one that's like really weird to me is we read this article that Rax sent to us. It was in the Detroit News. It was called Diet and Exercise in the Victorian Era. And at the turn of the 20th century, they had this ad in this article that was said, eat, 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 and always stay thin. There's a lot of all caps in this article. And then it says fat in like fat letters. And it's an
That
ad
was
for-
advertising back then. It was just like all caps and fat letters. That was all they could do.
And this advertisement is for sanitized tapeworms. And my favorite part of the
Dipped in
ad,
arsenic.
my favorite part of the ad is it says easy to swallow.
Ugh.
No, it
I
is
just
not.
lost a year off my life
my
expectancy.
No,
Ugh.
it is not. It is not easy to swallow. I just think that someone took that like little like elementary school poem, like nobody likes me, everybody hates me, guess I'll go eat worms, like a little bit too
Yeah.
seriously.
Yeah, they were like, oh, this could be a diet.
Yeah. it's-
Go eat
Tapeworms are like
worms.
a huge problem in this world of ours. A lot of people have the worms, and guess what? You die from them.
Don't
They eat
purposely
all your
put
nutrients.
parasites into your body. That's
Pedacitos,
No.
no thank you. See
You
you
keep
later.
them out. Most of human history is about trying to keep parasites and poison and shit out of your body, and then like starting with the arsenic pills,
Yes.
we just go completely the other way. We're like, let's eat the poison, let's eat the parasites, because we have to be thin. It does not fucking matter if you're thin. It matters if you're alive, or if you have a tapeworm inside of your person, like that kind of stuff matters. Anyway, the beginning of the 20th century is also roughly when the idea of the calorie came to prominence. I don't know if it was invented then, but it really hadn't been promoted by anybody before. And there was a dietitian named Lulu Hunt Peters. She published a book in the 1920s, I think.
Great name.
Called, or no, 1917. Oh, 18, yeah. And the book was called Diet and Health with Key to the Calories. And in this book, she makes the strenuous recommendation, you should know and also use the word calorie as frequently or more frequently than you use the words foot, yard, quart, gallon, and so forth. Hereafter, you are going to eat calories of food. Instead of saying 1 slice of bread or a piece of pie, you will say 100 calories of bread, 350 calories of pie. This did so much damage. I find it really kind of sad. Like, this is the terms that we still think in.
Yeah.
And it's not that meaningful. Not really.
I never know what to do with calorie numbers. Like, obviously, I know if I'm getting the milkshake, whatever, coffee, frappuccino that they sell at Starbucks and it says 400, I go, well, those are 400 bad calories, probably.
Yeah. But that's because it's a frappuccino, not because, like, calories themselves are bad.
And I actually only know that because of adulthood. There was a point when I was a youth where I thought 400 is 400 is 400. And that's, by the way,
she was trying to get away from, like, oh, if you're eating a slice of bread, nobody knows, like, how thick the slice of bread is. Like, if you're eating a slice of cake, nobody knows what that really means. But, sorry, don't get too specific with your diet.
Yeah, that way anorexia lies. Yes. Like, it's really hard, I think, to have a healthy relationship with something like calorie counting. Like, obviously, if you're not a professional football player and you're putting away 5,000 calories a day, that is too much. Mm-hmm. But it's really easy to tell something like that holistically. Like, you don't really, like, once you're at the point where you're fussing over, 1,600 calories versus 1,800, like, you've lost the plot a little bit. You're focused on the bean counting, and you're missing what should be a holistic approach to eating food that makes you feel good, avoiding eating too much of food that makes you feel like groggy or shitty or like gives you the shits or whatever. Like, it's supposed to be about paying attention to your body, not about like doing math.
I think it's funny to imagine, like, basically what the introduction of the calorie did is it turned any and all foods into numbers, and those numbers directly related to health in this really abstract way that doesn't actually work in daily practice. So for instance, if you make a burrito at home, that's going to be some amount of calories, but it's probably going to be mostly more healthy than if you go get an 800 calorie one at Del Taco, which is my preferred method. Even though I eat homemade burritos all the time. It's like more the sustenance rather than the calorie count when it comes to comparing Del Taco to avocado, spinach, steak, a tortilla that you make at home, that you have like whole, like that are comprised of whole foods.
Right.
And I think this has led to so much disordered eating because all of a sudden food is no longer about taste, pleasure, even filling yourself. It's purely about limiting the amount of calories that you put in your body, and everything that you put in your body is basically turns into a sin, right? And even a bite of broccoli, you might take one too many bites of broccoli, and all of a sudden you're screwed.
I mean, once you start to talk about calories, it's fad dieting takes like a whole new turn because it's not about how much you're eating or what you're eating. It's specifically about this one way of gauging how much you're eating. And you start to have products crop up that will say, they specifically look at calories and they're like, okay, we can lower the amount of calories in this product by putting certain chemicals into it. And maybe those chemicals are bad for you, but nobody's paying attention to chemicals. We're paying attention to calories. So then you start to have like the product-led fad diets happen.
This is also around the same time that we discover, I'm just realizing this now, this is around the same time that we discovered what vitamins were, and that people could have vitamin deficiencies. And so around the time that we're learning to count calories, we're also learning that, like, it's best to make salt be iodized to avoid goiter. And, you know, vitamin D deficiency, well, you can fortify milk with vitamin D. We're learning that there's all these, like, kind of superpowered seeming things that we can do to our food that makes our bodies healthier. And so I think that, like, in that way, we were really primed to accept something like the calorie. It sounds very scientific. It sounds like it comes from the same family of behavior as fortifying milk with vitamin D. Like, all of this stuff is this more science-forward approach to food and eating that I think, you know, some of it, of course, has been really good. You don't really see goiter anymore, but
that makes so much
some
sense.
of it has done damage.
Yeah, because, like, if you can do something to food that makes it healthier but doesn't affect the taste, then therefore you should be able to accept diet foods. But that's just, it's not the same. Unfortunately, it doesn't work the same.
Yeah, because what ends up happening, and we'll have to get back to this in a little while, is things like fake sugars and other chemical compounds are introduced to foods, not so much to make them healthier, like adding vitamin D to your milk, but so that you aren't consuming as many calories. So I remember that, like, in the 90s, if you didn't drink Diet Coke, you were fatso. You're drinking regular Coke because water was not an option. So it was
no, it wasn't cool yet. Sorry.
Diet Coke and Coke. So
They hadn't invented Evian yet.
No,
so.
water was fake. And so tons and tons of women, especially, were drinking Diet Coke, myself included, until all of a sudden there was, like, this study that was like, by the way, like, all the diet food that we're eating is literally like a, you know, what, quote unquote, like a molecule away from plastic, which is not the way that we should be thinking about those things, because a molecule is a huge difference. But insofar as they have no relationship to anything other than their chemical compound, something created in a laboratory, and that can have adverse health effects, although keep you skinny.
I think I was luckily able to, like, stay away from Diet Coke or, like, fake sweeteners and stuff. Honestly, I think it was because my mom had cancer, and so she was, like, very aware, hyper aware of, like, what was happening with chemicals and what was carcinogenic and what wasn't, and was, like, following the news a little bit more closely than the general population. So I never, like, got on the Diet Coke fad or, like, the sweet and low fat or anything like that.
Yeah, and I would say majority, myself included, although millennial packaging has changed a lot, but we're of course, all we have is the package. Unless it's like a raw fruit, all I have is the thing that says healthy diet.
Yeah,
and I
natural.
have to go, you know, I don't know. I'm not a food scientist. I'm not at the factory. I also still have.
And
no
you
idea
shouldn't
how
have
this is
to be.
No, you should not have to be a food scientist in order to eat. Like we said, like, everybody eats, like we talked about in the Kitchen Nightmares episode. That doesn't mean you need to be an expert on food. Like, just because you like to eat doesn't mean you need to open a restaurant. Just because you eat shouldn't mean you have to be a food scientist.
But it's in these early moments, like the fact that we were able to advertise tapeworms, that we'll get to this. Lucky
my God,
I
Vera,
know she
sorry.
really wants my attention. Lucky Strike cigarettes. Sounds like, oh my God, that's so crazy. Well, we still have advertising campaigns, completely unregulated advertising campaigns, telling us that X is good for our health. And it might be true. I don't know. Years of research typically has to go into determining whether some chemical alternative or some alternative to a naturally caloric food is healthier or less healthy for you.
God, I want to take collagen all of a sudden, and I'm a vegetarian, so I can't take collagen.
Well, also collagen, that's a really good example. That's something that's hugely touted right now.
Yeah.
And the science is still out. Can you consume collagen and have it affect your skin? TBD. I don't think
not going to stop people from doing it.
Of course not.
And spend tons of money on it. And people swear by these things because there is something about paying attention to what you're eating. Say a grapefruit diet in the 1930s. Well, I'm only eating grapefruits. I'm being freaking mindful. I'm noticing my body change in a way that, I hadn't been before when I was just eating SpaghettiOs all day. Not sure.
Oh
if
my
those-
God. I
Not sure if
I
those
miss
exist.
SpaghettiOs. Where did those
Me
go?
too.
I think they're still around, but I did eat
They're
them
around.
recently, and it wasn't what I remembered.
Oh,
And by recently,
They
I
don't
mean,
hold up.
No, they don't hold up the way like a Totina pizza roll that
think
holds up. Okay.
they're too. I think they're sweeter than I would like now. But
Yeah.
as a kid,
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, these roll.
Another thing that is totally different, and this is like quintessentially American. Now we're going to get into like things like the grapefruit diet and cleanses. These are quintessentially American insofar as there are these fad diets. One universe of the fad diet is you're only eating whole foods, and very few of them are only exclusively one kind of food, and you know exactly what's in it. Or the alternative is this says diet on it and is full of chemicals that are going to replace and maybe taste better than just eating, grapefruits all day. But we don't know anything about if it's going to like cause cancer or something like this. Where in Europe, you have to be straightforward and you cannot introduce this is not a wholesale, like Europe has problems. I'm just saying in general, there's a stricter rules for what can be introduced into the national diet, and typically you have to prove that things don't cause cancer, rather than in America where you have to prove after the fact that they do.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyways, that's my biggest problem with the universe.
I mean, what was the master cleanse exactly? I know that was in the 40s, but I don't know exactly.
Right, so
what
after
it
the
was.
grapefruit diet, which was huge and was still popular even when I was a kid, and I remember
I still hear about it.
Yeah,
all the
no,
time.
it's still around.
I mean, grapefruit juice, unlike other juices, especially if it's fresh squeezed, is more filling, mostly because of like the pulp and stuff like that. But that kind of turned into something else by the 1940s. The master cleanse was introduced as an idea, because kind of invented, and that included basically a liquid diet, right? We're going to stick to liquids that are juices, but probably this is like a low sugar alternative. So by
We also did that.
1976.
Sorry, we did that in Yogaville. We also did.
Did you
juice
do it the
cleanse?
way
Yeah,
they
we
do
did
it?
we
It's
did
like
a week.
specific juices.
Yeah, we did a week of drinking like water with lemon and cayenne pepper.
Yep.
And
done that
Gives you
too.
the shits.
And
Really
yeah.
gives you the shits.
sometimes you throw up. It's considered like normal and cleansing, and it does give
It's
you the
incredibly
shits.
unhealthy.
It's not great. No,
It's like, and it's been debunked like
many times.
Endless.
20
Many
times by
times
now
over,
at this
but it
point.
doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
people keep having to like publish new papers being like it doesn't work, but in a very real sense it does work, because a week of only drinking lemonade, like you will lose weight. You're going to feel like shit. You're going to have all kinds of other fucked up symptoms, but you will drop some pounds.
And you do
Yeah.
get that. You do get a high. You get a lightheaded high, which feels spiritual when you're like in a setting where you are constantly meditating and doing yoga. And
I mean,
like,
it's
being
basically
told that you're
preparing
doing the
for a
right thing.
colonoscopy. Like you
Yes.
just
Oh,
are
God.
pooping
It is
all
preparing
day.
for a colonoscopy, and it's also very good for getting someone into a cult because they're in a very they're in an uninhibited state. They're like,
Yes,
there's
they're like,
not a lot of
fucking
walls up.
whatever.
Yeah, like whatever. Sure.
I'm so hungry.
Yeah.
The master cleanse itself was a kind of version of what Amber was talking about with the water, lemon, and cayenne, which is, I can vouch, still a very popular Los Angelino drink, and popular just in any diet culture. The master cleanse specifically was mixing lemonade, maple syrup, and cayenne pepper, and substituting solid foods with that concoction or other liquids for at least 10 days. And that's also anorexia.
Yep.
yeah.
I'm just going to
That's
go
just
ahead and let you
anorexia.
know that's disordered eating. I would really talk to someone who is not asking you to go on a liquid cleanse. They're very, very popular in LA, actually across the country, but especially on the coast. They're within walking distance of my and Amber's house, probably 3 or 4 places I could go right now where a very handsome woman or gentleman would tell me, if you just drink this for 3 days, only these juices, you are going to be a perfect person on the other side. You're going to feel better. You're going to work harder. You're going to you're going to be hornier. Like all these crazy things can be claimed. And that all started around the 1930s and 1940s.
Yeah, 1941, I think the master cleanse itself was invented. And a whole bunch of other similar juice cleanses followed in rapid succession because, as I said, in a very real way, they do work. You will drop weight. But, I mean, it's a lot of work. I mean, aside from the fact that it's just anorexia, it is a lot of work to make fresh squeezed juice, like in quantities enough that you'll survive if it's all you're drinking.
It's either work or very expensive. I mean, both.
Yeah. If someone else does it for you, it's like hundreds of dollars now. And I think at the time, that probably wasn't an option. You didn't have juice bars on every corner like
definitely.
you have now.
And what we call, like, juices have changed. So there was, quickly there was findings that were like, well, actually, if you turn fruit into juice, you lose like 99% of the fibers and nutrients you need. And so just a little warning for any of you listeners, when people say, so this term cold pressed was introduced, which is a different method of creating juice. And it supposedly keeps more of the fibers intact, right? Because you're like not breaking up.
You're not pasteurizing it, right?
Breaking them up with like a blade, right? You're like pushing it out. I don't really know. But it basically means like you add more water and have a more concentrated flavor.
I'm not a juice scientist, but I think that is correct, yes.
Yeah, I, as a juice scientist, this is like a juice scientist guarantee. TM, that's my new name. So yeah, just look out for that. Anytime you're limiting yourself to a very specific type of food, especially if that food is not a food but a liquid, I would just go into that with your,
head on straight.
Yeah, like stay woke,
Definitely. It is so easy to, again, I had to do the Whole30 diet, right? I had to do that at the behest of a doctor who retroactively I would really like to know where she got her medical degree from.
Yeah.
Because Whole30 is bullshit. But, it's highly restrictive. You cut out like 10 separate entire groups of food. All you can really eat is fruit, vegetables, and meat. You can't have dairy. You can't have legumes. You can't have anything filling, really. And so when I was on Whole30, I would cry every day. Like literally every day I was on it, I cried. But
I did it for 3 days in a room for Amber. I was like in the worst mood ever. And then
I
like ate a cracker and I was like immediately like, oh, this is heaven. And like poured myself a glass of wine.
Because it's impossible. You can't make lifestyle changes like that last. And but yeah, I remember like when I stopped doing it, and I really had no history of eating disorders or anything like that. But when I stopped doing it and I started eating normally again, it didn't feel right. It felt very like I was letting myself do something dangerous if I ate a whole meal that contained stuff I like to eat other than just, steamed salmon, which nobody likes. I'm sorry. Nobody likes steamed salmon. It is disgusting.
Steamed salmon.
I hate a salmon. I want that bitch to die,
I think
not even to become
steaming
food.
something and then not doing something with it afterwards is a sin. Nothing
It's
should
illegal.
remain steamed.
I like salmon, but I would like fry it and also put a sauce on it.
Gotta sauce it up.
Sauce it
Well,
up.
good luck coming up with a sauce that doesn't contain any of the
I would
stuff.
never do Whole30. No, fuck that
But
noise.
yeah, it's like, if you don't go in with your head on really straight, it kind of encourages a disordered eating mentality, even if that's not something that has been
You're
a
prone
problem
to.
for you before.
Yeah.
It's just like it encourages you to bean count and to calorie count, even though the Whole30 is not about counting calories at all.
No.
It just like dieting at all lends itself to counting calories and to
you become
stepping on a
hyper-aware.
scale every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because once you're hyper aware of what you're eating in that vigilant way, you become hyper aware of what it's doing to your body. It becomes a little project and it's like fun to get on a scale every day.
Well, it's something
It's actually not fun.
There is like something to it that like why it's so addictive, like, is because you have control over something. And so you have like a scale that you can step on. You have calories that you can take or to intake or not intake. It's something that we can control, and in a world that is so uncontrolled, that is a very addictive thing. And it seems very
And it's really
understandable
common
to me.
in women especially.
Well, we have
Capricorns.
less that we can control.
Did you see I made a star
Yes,
joke?
I did.
I mean, it's not.
That was
it's not
great.
like
You're
funny,
a star.
because this is around about anorexia. But in general, yeah, it's a.
Capricorns love anorexia. Am I
Control
right?
freak.
Women be shopping.
And it's really easy to disguise in women, especially really young women. Most people who are going to suffer from anorexia start, disordered eating as early as like 10 years old. And this is largely a product of the household, maybe with a diet obsessed house, which I was lucky not to grow up in, although we did have Diet Coke. Or, again, it's like it's easy to disguise in women, I think, because being obsessive about what you put in your body has been become a norm from all of the history that we've gone over so far. So even when you're young, if you're like, no, I want to eat healthy, I want to eat less, what are you going to say to the kid? Like, no, I eat the ice cream,
Yeah.
I will, because that's a different kind of disordered eating that I'm going to, ruin my child with. But that's where it all begins, right? Oftentimes, if you're at a restaurant with someone and you see them eat less than you or something like this, you might think there is like some sort of moral aspect to that. And so that's why throughout the mid-century until the 1970s, these kinds of like juice cleanses really got off the ground. But so did things like taking amphetamines, which is back in vogue, and smoking.
But it's for
instead of
ADHD. It's
eating.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now it's so I
fine.
can do more work instead of so I can get more skinnier.
Well,
I do
one
like
of-
the
best
supplement
part-
section. Sorry, go ahead.
No, the best part, one way that you get more work done on Adderall is you don't have to pause to eat like I did today.
That's true.
That is true. That is why I even though my ADHD drug is not an amphetamine, it does like affect my hunger level, and I have to eat breakfast before I eat it. Like I have to eat a full breakfast.
Yeah, me too.
Otherwise, I won't eat the rest of the day because it'll completely suppress my appetite, and then I'll forget, and I'll continue just like clicking, clacking away on my computer. I do like the supplement section because I like that you included the in 1928 that Lucky Strike launches its cigarette diet campaign.
And what a campaign.
Oh
yeah,
my
the
God.
image was insane.
The image is so offensive. You would never see this used in... Well, actually, I guess that's not true. You always see, like, in pictures advertising diets now, what you see is a skinny woman, like, holding out her giant
pants.
jeans to be like, look how much weight I've lost. And that is essentially what this Lucky Strike poster is. It shows this fatter and dark gray colored swimmer creepily advancing on a skinny and brightly colored swimmer. And the tagline is, when tempted to overindulge, reach for a Lucky instead.
You gotta have something in your hand, so it should be a Lucky cigarette, is basically
Now,
what
at this
they're saying.
point, people didn't know yet that cigarettes caused cancer, but they did know that something wasn't right with people who smoked a lot of cigarettes. Like, at this point, enough people had been doing it for long enough that you could tell.
You get a
like, the way they
cough.
coughed was
Yeah.
not healthy, and they would get really haggard looking, really young, and, it was very widespread, but enough people had picked up on cigarettes being obviously kind of gross for you that Lucky Strike needed to find another angle, and so they were like, oh, I see. Cigarettes they're also an appetite suppressant, which they are. So here comes this incredibly creepy poster.
I don't remember
I
if
hate
it was
this
this
poster.
advertisement. I'm not looking at it right now, but I do remember one being like, it won't even hurt your throat.
Yeah.
Which is like, oh, okay. We noticed that you're like getting a lot of throat issues from smoking cigarettes, but not the Lucky Strike.
Yeah. Got a cough, I see.
Well, then you
Sounds a
have
little
like the
horrible.
women's cigarettes, like the Virginia Slims, and like the other like little tiny cigarettes that are basically half cigarettes, and those are for women, for skinny, beautiful women. I've noticed recently that cigarette smoking has become more popular. And,
Someone reads the New York Times.
No. Actually, it was so weird. I like had been seeing this fad, and I woke up in the morning one day and I was like, I don't know why, but like, I want to start smoking cigarettes. It seems cool. I said this to Matt, knowing full well how stupid I sounded. And then that day, that is the day that I read in the New York Times that oh, cigarette smoking is cool again. And I was like, oh, immediately not cool anymore.
I smoked that entire week because I too was like, the zeitgeist do as the zeitgeist say. I must indulge.
I mean, I would count that. You know, I have this whole little section in our outline devoted to diet supplements. I would count cigarettes in that usage as a diet supplement.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what they were being advertised as. They needed to find some alternate use for the drug that wasn't just making you cough a lot, because they were starting to realize people didn't like that part of cigarettes so much. But there were other options.
Yeah.
There were amphetamines, which were initially supposed to be prescribed for things like narcolepsy. Turns out they make you lose weight, especially if you're a housewife who doesn't leave the house. Probably not exercising that much if you live in a suburb.
They put it in chocolate bars. It was great.
That sounds so good, dude.
I want that.
I would try that. Like, what happened to the good old days? You know what I mean?
I
This is what I'm
know.
talking about.
Now we have
Men
edibles
were
for
men
weed,
and
but
women
I
ate
want edibles for
amphetamines.
amphetamines.
Yeah.
Me too.
I want edibles that make me vacuum underneath the couches, you know?
Yeah. Like, I'm not just going to lift up the rug without any kind of fucking drug behind that. I don't have time
No
for that.
rugs without drugs, okay?
No rugs without
Yeah.
drugs.
What, I'm gonna vacuum my house just for my own health?
Gross.
Like, no.
Gross.
Absolutely not.
Prescribe me some fucking amphetamines.
Also in 1977, there was slimfast invented by Thompson Medical Company. I love the idea of slimfast.
Me too.
My dad drank slimfast all the time. My dad was like very much like he bought as seen on TV products. Actually, a lot of the pictures in the like article that we read about diet and exercise in the Victorian age was like, I was like, oh, this is something my dad would buy. Like that shampooing machine that she had her arm in. I was this is something my dad would buy. Like it's like the elliptical of that time. But he bought slimfast. The problem was he often didn't just drink it as like a meal replacement. He would drink it with a meal, which was usually like a hot dog.
That's right.
You know, but not the way it's supposed to work, but he enjoyed the taste.
I've heard they don't taste bad.
They don't.
actually,
The
Slim
chocolate,
Fast.
vanilla. I mean, I think it was just chocolate and vanilla when I was a kid, but I don't know if it has any more flavors now. But they're good.
I mean, it's like quintessentially of that era of dieting, which was like, we know you can't give up chocolate and sugars and you want to have your shakes and et cetera, et cetera. These are all delicious. This is also why you're struggling, is you probably have some sort of, now what we would say like addiction to sugar. I don't know, some other crazy thing that people
Let
say.
the meat shake.
But now our new fad diets are reactionary to these earlier versions, which were like, oh, you can't give up your habits. You have to buy diet foods that kind of taste like what you love. Well, now we're gonna teach you to never crave something delicious again.
Right.
Next time
exactly.
you want a fucking candy bar. I'm sorry, oranges are basically the candy bars.
Yeah. Eat a carrot,
Yeah.
bitch.
And that's like our new diet culture, so far as I can tell.
So, one other thing about the Thompson Medical Company, which invented SlimFast, founded by a guy who is in no way a medical doctor.
Oh.
All marketing. It was just called a medical company because you can just call stuff
That's
different
good to
things.
know. Good to know.
Yeah. Also invented Dexatrim. Remember
Got it.
Dexatrim?
Yes, another short-lived but important addition to my life.
I wish I was wearing a lab coat during this episode, honestly.
Oh,
Just so
sorry.
I could really look like the doctor that I am.
Well, you can just tell the people who aren't watching YouTube that you are.
I am wearing a lab coat if you're just listening to this episode.
It's weird because
Amber,
it's
I like your
tie-dye,
lab coat.
but I love
Yeah.
it.
Thank you. I've always wanted a tie-dye lab coat. I like all of my clothes to be tie-dye.
Courtney, do you want to talk to us about the Vogue diet?
Oh
Well,
my God, wait, but
yeah.
Hydroxycut.
Yes.
You mentioned it briefly, but in 2002 there was Hydroxycut, and I
Oh,
know
shit, yeah.
that all the gay men that I worked with while canvassing for the Human Rights Campaign at that time, they all took it, and it was super dangerous because it just dehydrates you. That's it.
Yeah, so Hydroxycut was a huge, again, one of these kinds of like buy from off the TV kind of supplements that became ubiquitous with weight loss. Like, and Okay. I really wish I knew what to do. Vera, it really wants to eat the food I'm eating. Anyways, so she needs hydroxycut. Basically, it was supposed to not be a meal replacement. Basically, we're supposed to eat, kind of like the arsenic pills, no diet needed, no exercise. You just take this supplement and it's going to help you regulate kind of like your desires and stuff like that. Basically, it was a caffeine pill. So like a little less intense than like the methamphetamine pills of yore. And unfortunately, this was like, I cannot speak to how popular this was. Also, it was like a commercial that I would see like 7,000 times a day in the
I can still hear it in my head. Hydroxycut.
Yeah, like they just screamed at you like you're a fat loser. But this is like, well, you were allowed to say this in 2002 on the television. You could just say anything you wanted. And hydroxycut made the rounds. Unfortunately, as soon as 2000, so it comes out in 2002, as soon as 2003, New York Times was like, something is fishy here in the state of hydroxycut. And they found that the company Muscle Tech, who was producing hydroxycut, had basically faked all the studies that said that it was going to lead to weight loss, covered up side effects of cardiac arrest.
Cardiac arrest. Great. That's not even a side effect. That's just dying.
It's not good. There was a death. They tampered with documents that were submitted as evidence for this being a viable alternative to dieting. They even had, in some of their commercials, doctors who, when this investigation began, they could not find. So there was like someone who was like, as a doctor, I can recommend it. And then that person disappeared from the face of the earth. It was mostly caffeine, but it also had something called ephedra, which led to seizures, liver problems, heart attacks, strokes, and in some cases, death. Again, this is something that you were just allowed to sell. No studies faked. No one asked for the studies until after people were having heart attacks. So
that's how the FDA still works, by the way. If you buy a product that you don't really know that much about at GNC and any of these things happen to you, that's why. It's because nobody's ever called it out before.
And it's just like the low culture boil. I mean, if we had a second name, it'd be like, the FDA needs to be better. Okay.
Really, true.
This is an anti-FDA podcast.
It's shocking how bad they are at their job. Yeah, so just stay woke with that. And something you don't need to stay woke about is listening to Vogue's advice on how to get thin. I could not recommend this enough. Originally, there's this diet that you might have seen going around. It was like meme-ified a few years ago, which is basically a diet of eggs, wine, steak, and coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And imagine the farts. That's the first thought I had, is imagine the gaseous emissions coming out of a person eating only hard-boiled eggs, steak, and wine.
Delicious.
I don't know what you're talking about. Sign me up.
Courtney in our chat wrote us. She was like, well, remember this diet? It was like eggs and white wine. I really wanted, I kind of wanted to try it, but I don't like eggs. So basically she wanted a diet that was just wine.
And steak. And coffee.
When I was the heart attack diet. That's just the heart attack diet.
So it just looked like you're like, white wine, please.
I don't know how much this influenced my mom, but when I was sick as a kid, my mom thought it was because I wasn't eating proteins. And so she would cook me a steak with a fried egg on top and a quarter shot of whiskey. And I know that's illegal, but I think time has passed that it's allowed for me to admit this.
You think what is it called? You think she's not allowed to be arrested?
Yeah, I don't remember
we all need
limitations. Yeah.
Yeah, I am a little hungry, actually.
Well, I'll give you some food ideas. So in 1962, this woman wrote a book that was like one of the best-selling sex books for women that was called Sex and the Single Girl, The Unmarried Woman's Guide to Men.
Helen Gurley Brown, whoop, whoop.
Gurley Brown, which is just an amazing name. Ow, Vera. Ow. Vera just
asshole
bit me.
Dog.
Literally driving me nuts.
Vera bit me.
And so this was only supposed to be for 2 days because she did, quote, tell you were going to become fuzzy. And so, she didn't want you to do it on a work day because you weren't going to be able to, focus.
Fair.
it was reproduced in a 1977 issue of Vogue magazine. And they argued that you should do it for 3 days. It's pretty much like one of the first widely praised quote unquote crash diets. And what you would do is you would lose 5 pounds by eating 1 hard-boiled egg for breakfast with a glass of white wine, preferably
Chablis.
And
why does it matter?
Preferably Chablis. Why?
I saw people
Is that just to be seen making a recommendation? Like, is that just to seem worldly?
Is that
I
less
don't
sugary?
understand.
It's fancier
White wine?
in general. It's like not sweet, right? It's like dry.
Okay, yeah.
And
Dry
so
wine.
like I don't think that has any like 1-to-1 with the amount of literal sugars, but whatever. So the cheapest bottle of that you can find now is like $50. So I would not have that.
God.
For lunch, you're gonna have 2 eggs. So you're just building up. You're just building up your egg diet. Preferably those are also hard boiled, but you can have them poached if you need. And then, well, you guessed it, 2 glasses of white wine.
Ooh,
And
getting
some black
wild at
coffee.
lunch.
Well, I hear your tummy rumbling and your drunk self texting a friend. I have a solution for you. Before you tell someone something unbelievably rude or that you're in love with them, why don't you grill yourself up a 5-ounce steak with black pepper, lemon juice, and the remainder, and then chug the remainder of the white wine, which will be evened out with the consumption of steak. And yes, you may have another black coffee.
But why coffee before bed?
I honestly read this and I was like, Christy, first of all, black coffee, not in this universe.
I always drink black coffee.
I do too.
Yeah, and I do, again, you guys are fucking 1s and 3s or whatever. 3s and 5s. I need to be disgusting. So that was rightly memeified. Later on, I also saw versions of this where people like had martinis, basically any alcohol to keep you wanting to stay hammered instead of wanting to sober up.
Yes.
That was a diet. I would recommend this one. I think this one's great. You can have a maximum 1 bottle a day, but don't limit
but
yourself.
you're also not eating. So like that 1 bottle is making you feel tipsy
5
as
ounces
fuck.
of steak.
Like you'd be drunk.
I feel like 5 ounces of steak is respectable.
Yeah,
that's almost a full portion.
That's true.
This is no carbs except for the wine. And yeah, you've got yourself a freaking success story. 5 pounds down.
Is that keto? Does that count as a keto diet?
I don't know if you're allowed to have alcohol, but
I don't know.
I'm not.
I don't think you are. I think that you're probably not.
Okay.
You can't on Whole30, and I know that a lot of Whole30 is kind of like halfway modeled on keto practices. So
I will say that I would also recommend doing this on the weekend because I think you will get fuzzy. If you're doing this, during
you're
work
fuzzy
tonight.
by 9 a.m.
Yeah, don't go into your doctor, job as a surgeon having had your wine morning.
Weekends mean
all of our
nothing to me,
listeners
so
who are
I will
and
do this any day of
professionals.
the week that I want. Personally.
Yeah, I don't have a job.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
starting this shit tomorrow. And I like eggs.
Yeah.
So this is a
I
slam
love
dunk
eggs.
for me.
And
Yeah.
well, let me know how it goes. I read like some people wrote articles like semi-recently, like when this was a meme about having done it, and neither of them lost the full 5.
You don't even lose the weight?
No, they lost like 3 though, and
I mean,
but that's not a full 5.
You get
The
to
fuck do I
get
wanna
drunk,
lose
but
3
that's
pounds?
not fun.
I feel like if I'm gonna have a 3-day binger where I have a bottle of wine a day, I'm gonna want like a little bit more variety in my food options. You know what I'm saying? Like that's all I'm asking for.
What do you do about the drenchies? Like, what do you do
Exactly.
when
Yeah.
you're drunk and you want a pizza?
5-ounce steak instead.
That's not enough steak to... No, I see the problems now.
Okay. Well, we haven't even gotten to like the current day and age, but from like the 80s to the 2000s, that's when we started having the fad diets that like are well known as like quote unquote fad diets, like Weight Watchers, which is kind of maybe a more fair idea of a diet. It's more about like watching what you are eating. You have the Atkins diet, the South Beach diet, the Zone diet, the Mediterranean
Y'all
diet.
remember the supremacy of fucking Atkins?
Oh my God,
Atkins
so
was everywhere.
I mean, it
very,
was
very
basically
common.
keto, And keto is also fake. And we don't have time anymore in this episode just for me to tell you as a scientist why keto is fake, but I've seen many a TikTok that confirmed my suspicions.
It's true. And I've seen her in her lab coat, and it is correct. You should listen to everything she says. And once Courtney puts out a TikTok about it, I will definitely promote it. There was also so Weight Watchers was first, then Jenny Craig, then Atkins, then South Beach. Then what's the Zone Diet?
I don't actually know.
I wasn't familiar with that one.
Don't know that one. Now
I saw it on a list of fad
it's
diets.
Metas.
All
I know is macros. You think about things in terms of okay, this is a certain kind of macro fat. This is basically avocado. I don't know. It's just there's something called macros, and people talk about that on TikTok.
That doesn't sound so bad.
It's it's like the Mediterranean diet. It's you should probably eat vegetables. Yeah.
Yeah.
PEMDAS dieting. So you eat certain things before you eat other things. Got it.
Got it.
Okay. And then today there is now new diets. Intermittent fasting is the one that everybody talks about right now, which I hate.
My doctor also told me to do that one.
It's, oh my God, so prevalent and so stupid. It is just anorexia. That's it.
It's just anorexia.
That's it.
A lot of diets now, they're just kind of trying to Trojan horse anorexia into your daily routine.
Which I don't know why. Who's selling anorexia? I don't. Stop Doing it. Nobody cares.
Yeah, the food lobbies must be pissing themselves. They're just no, eat food.
Eat when you're hungry. Stop eating when you're full. Eat again when you're hungry.
Or do whatever you want. I don't
Or eat
care.
for taste, or I don't care. Yeah.
Go eat a bunch of French fries right now. I don't even care what time it is that you're listening to this.
Ooh, a morning fry's delicious.
The paleo diet.
There's nothing like a morning fry.
The paleo diet's really funny.
I hate the paleo diet.
You eat like a caveman.
Paleo people died so young.
So young.
Cavemen died at 20.
Yes. Reject modernity. Embrace dying at 20 years old. Great.
You're not supposed to have anything that a caveman theoretically would not have had access to. So no bread, no dairy, probably.
Yeah.
Nothing worth doing.
But I'm
the bread and dairy is my whole deal.
Do you cook your meat?
Right. Or do you assume that you have a functional appendix as a paleo man? Also, there are like paleo chocolate bars and shit, and like, no.
That's made
the
in a factory.
Did not have
factories.
Yes. I get really worked up about the paleo diet.
Become
It
a
is so fucking
socialist
stupid.
instead, and that's the LCB fucking way. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Exactly.
The socialist diet.
Which
Eat
is
what
like
you want.
complain
No,
about
I got
diets,
Yeah.
but staying beautiful while doing it.
Obviously.
Yeah, that's right.
There's the keto diet, which we talked about. I don't understand. You put butter in
Danny
your coffee,
does
I
it.
guess, or something.
There's you reach ketosis, which no, you don't. If you're reaching ketosis, that's really bad, is what I
My
read.
sister's
Yeah.
diabetic. She has actually reached ketosis. It's dangerous. It's not on
Yeah.
purpose.
People
it's
with epilepsy
an
sometimes
accidental
benefit.
thing that happens. No,
Yeah.
don't do that.
The application of keto, it was originally just supposed to be for people with epilepsy, because some people with especially difficult to manage epilepsy saw some benefit from it. And now people are just doing it for reasons I don't understand. Like, that one doesn't even make intuitive sense. You can have bacon, but you can't have
I know.
something else.
It really
I don't know.
drives. That one's the one that drives me nuts, but that's only because Danny does it, and I'm just like, Danny, that is nonsense.
It is nonsense, Danny. I'm sorry. It is.
Danny's like, I can't eat burritos, and you're like, what?
I know.
You can eat a burrito. If you
No, but-
sit down and do it right now, you will be
You
so
try.
happy.
Put your mind to it.
You will have such a good time. I have
Dude,
a
I
great
want a burrito
time
now
every
so
time.
badly.
Oh my God, me too.
I might go have some legumes.
Yummy.
I'm
Oh, which
I
you
might
can't
go
have
eat a
on Whole
spoonful of
30.
peanut butter.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you can.
Peanut butter.
Also a Kellogg
peanut
invention,
butter.
according to Kellogg. Although it had
Peanut butter?
existed before, but he mass-produced peanut butter. Yeah, Mr. Kellogg.
I've started calling peanut butter penis butter.
Why are you ruining things for me?
Yeah. Anything to make the time go by, right?
There's also the last one that you listed as my favorite one of all time, the cotton ball diet, where you just dip cotton balls into things like juice and then you eat them. They should have called it something funny, like the Peter Rabbit diet, like something cute.
Is this a real diet or just something people do?
It was a real recommendation, not by anyone legitimate, but it was, it was a fad diet. Yeah. And then all these doctors, like, who had better things to do with their day had to, like, take time to say, hey, don't eat cotton balls. Don't ever eat cotton balls. That's not for you to be eating. That's for, taking your makeup off with or your nail polish. Don't eat cotton balls. And, like, so many doctors had to say that before people stopped doing it.
So what happened? Like the egg makeup thing got really popular, and then they were like,
"Well, we got to market cotton balls somehow." So.
Yeah, eat them. My note for this one is just literally dip fucking cotton balls in like juice and eat them. Are you out of your fucking mind? And that is all I can think of to say about something like. They don't even look like they taste good. That's not even it's not like a Tide Pod. If there was a Tide Pod diet, I would have to think about it because they look delicious.
They do.
They look so good.
But like the idea of eating cotton is like literally gives me the shivers. It's like
same. I don't know why.
Down a chalkboard.
Don't eat cotton balls. Don't eat cotton balls.
Don't eat cotton balls. Don't eat arsenic. Don't eat tapeworms. I think those are the morals of this episode. Those are the
big ones. Probably anything that's unproven to not kill you. Just wait till there's proof that it
Wait till there's research. Yeah.
Or like go to France and eat there or something.
Yeah. If you want to diet, don't do it. I would just think about, just eat more vegetables and then start from there. Once you start adding those veggies, everything follows. So that's a scientific proof.
You could fry them.
You could fry them. Get yourself an air fryer. It's basically frying without the fry. No, I think you still use oil, but it's not like much. I don't really get what an air fryer is.
That's not a very good slogan. You still use oil, but not as much.
I use my air fryer every day, and I'm like, well, this is just roasting. I roasted it.
But like in a fun way.
A fun way.
Like you use a toy.
It's fast. That I gotta tell you, fucking immediate. You want to. 20 minutes at 400? No, sir. 7 minutes at 400 in this bad boy.
Boom.
7 minutes.
I pretty much solved health. And
we solved health.
That was important. And thanks for the recommendation, Colin. Of college. Connor.
Connor, I'm sorry.
Connor Callahan.
To everybody.
It was the L in the second name that really confused her, I think. But,
I also wasn't looking. It was just from, I need to eat something. So I'm going to go eat more. Thanks for listening. I'm thinking of you all the time. Thanks again, Connor.
Thank you, Connor. Bye.
Happy to sand, bitches.
Bye.
Ooh, boy.